All right, we're back because there was a real tension here that I think is worth us spending a little time with. So I want to pause and breathe because that's what Nerdland is good for. And Angela, I want to allow you first to make your point.
Sure.
Because what I heard you say was that the language of "take back our country" had a racialized overtone to it that was associated with the election of a black president. But what I felt like I heard you heard Angela say was Republicans are racist. So let me pause and allow you both to say what you meant to say and how you heard it.
Sure. The Tea Party has some serious racial challenges. For example, when the House of Representatives were voting on Obamacare, all of the Tea Party members that came to protest on the Hill spat on my future boss, who was the Congressional Black Caucus incoming chair. John Lewis, who had already been beaten and bludgeoned trying to ensure that we would all have voting rights and parity in this country, was called the N-word. So this isn't something that I made up. These are things that really happened and continue to happen, and I think that we see them in the way in which people continue to talk about the president, to the president, challenging his citizenship and all of those things. Is that reflective of all people in the GOP? Absolutely not. But I think it absolutely is a problem, and it has to be addressed. I can tell you it happens every time I'm on MSNBC in my Twitter feed, that people are touting that they're Tea Party members.
I'm curious, were you there that day?
No, I was not there that day.
I was actually there that day. I was doing a stand-up for MSNBC. I was actually out talking with Tea Party people. I actually saw John Lewis walk out to go to the Capitol to vote. I did not hear the N-word being
I'm sorry
turned.
you didn't hear it.
Well, even and John Lewis has never said on camera. Reporters have asked him, did people call you the N-word? And he has not
most
said
of the
anything.
members have said that they will refuse to talk about that day because it was so insulting. They were going to preserve health care for so
The only thing
many
I can
people.
say to you is that I was there. I was standing there. I was listening. I didn't hear it.
I'm sorry.
So again, it's a difference of opinion. But for you, for you not having been there, and me actually having been there, when I've talked to myself, I was physically there.
That's not right.
So it's just one incident. It's not just Angela making this point.
Right.
I mean, we saw after the 2012 elections, Colin Powell, a star in the Republican Party for years, come out and say there's a vein of intolerance within the Republican Party. He was pointing to people like Sununu, a surrogate for the Romney campaign, who time and time again used race baiting to advance the candidate. I mean, I remember doing posts on Think Progress. There was one particular day towards the end of the election when we were able to point to 4 or 5 different instances of race baiting within that one day. Everything from calling the president lazy to all kinds. I mean, Sununu had to apologize for an insensitive remark he once made. So the campaign was loaded with that in 2012. It goes well beyond one incident.
So let me ask you a question and pull back from this a little bit. So one of the challenges in sort of that kind of discourse is just that there is lots of racial intolerance within the Democratic Party as well.
Thank you.
And I do sometimes worry that when we name the racial problem as one that is about the attitudes of individuals, that it kind of allows a covering of the attitudes of individuals on the left, because they're like, well, I'm behind the black president, therefore I can't possibly be racist, right?
Right.
That said, what I'd like us to try to refocus on then is the question of racially disparate impacts in policy, so that whatever good or bad emotions people may have about this president, about John Lewis, who is an American hero, just sort of, an icon, all of those things. Because, what is important to me about this moment is that African Americans do not all think the same thing, that we legitimately stand on different sides of the issues. But there are empirical realities about whether or not some policies have a disparately positive impact and or negative impact on the question of closing the gap of racial inequality. And on that, Democrats have done better since Democrats became the contemporary Democrats, not the Democrats of in doing better on policies that close the racial divide on economic inequality, and that not perfectly, but better than
When you look at the issue of health care, there even a sub-issue of Medicaid expansion, of Republican governors refusing to expand Medicaid. Well, the population that benefits the most disproportionately from Medicaid, from health care for lower-income Americans, are African Americans. And you have Republican governors saying, no, no way, even though the economics and the conservative case for expanding Medicaid is so strong. So,
Igor, pause right there, because precisely the question I want to ask when we come back is about the possibilities of coalition building across partisan lines and other identity-based lines. Because when we talk about the Republicans, who do we think we're talking about? A lot of our neighbors and friends are Republicans. Who are those Republicans, and how is this fighting at the Republican top impacting folks who are Republicans on the bottom? And if I catch it